The sun beat down on the cracked earth of what was once their ancestral home, now a parched canvas of despair. Kalen, his once mighty mane dulled by dust and hunger, nudged Lyra forward. Her ribs showed a stark testament to the vanishing herds and dried-up waterholes that had forced their desperate lion migration from the heart of southern Africa. This perilous journey, a grim testament to wildlife hardship, had become their existence. Days bled into weeks, each sunrise a new battle against a relentless, unforgiving landscape. Yet their shared survival instinct was a powerful current beneath the weariness, a silent vow passed in the brush of a flank, the shared watchfulness in the dead of night. Their lion bond, forged in easier times, now tempered in this crucible of scarcity, was the only thing keeping the spark of hope from being entirely extinguished by the howling winds. Their paws caught my tools, and heavy, carried them onward, guided by a whisper of hope for a sanctuary, unseen a place where life might bloom again. That whisper of hope, a fragile thread against the desolation they had endured, finally led Kalen and Lyra to the unfenced, sprawling edge of the Marula Valley Reserve. It was a stark contrast. The air here hummed with unseen life, the scent of acacia and distant water, a balm to their parched senses. Cautiously, they ventured into this new territory, ghosts in the tall grasses, every instinct on high alert. They were interlopers in this established wildlife reserve. Miles away, Marcus Thorne, a park ranger whose weathered face mapped years under the African sun, squinted at the fresh spoor near a watering hole. "Well now, that's not any of our resident prides," he muttered into his radio, his voice a low rumble. "Elara, you seeing this sizable male and a female? Looks like they've traveled far." Back at the reserve's modest research outpost, Dr. Elara Vance, an animal behaviorist whose passion for conservation efforts was matched only by her meticulous data collection, leaned closer to her monitor as Marcus's drone footage came through. "Indeed, Marcus, strangers. We'll need to monitor their integration or lack thereof. Any signs of distress?" Her approach was clinical, yet a current of concern ran beneath it. The delicate balance of Marula Valley was her life's work. Their initial observation over the next few days was a careful dance. Kalen, ever watchful, established a temporary uneasy perimeter, his roars less about dominance and more a weary assertion of their presence. Lyra, however, moved with a subtle, almost imperceptible heaviness. It was something in her gait, the way she conserved her energy, the slight curve to her belly that only an expert in lion behavior might discern from afar. Elara, cataloguing her animal observation notes, felt a familiar prickle of intuition intertwine with scientific deduction. Could it be? The lion pregnancy signs were faint, almost spectral, but to her trained eye, they hinted at a profound vulnerability and a secret new hope journeying with them. The implications, she knew, were immense, both for these weary travelers and for the watchful guardians of Marula Valley. The implications of Elara's suspicion hung heavy in the air of Marula Valley Reserve, a silent undercurrent to the daily rhythm of the wild. Her meticulous animal observation notes, cross-referenced with Marcus's on-the-ground reports, soon painted an undeniable picture. Lyra was indeed carrying new life. The lion pregnancy, once a fragile hypothesis, became a certainty that brought with it a complex mix of conservation, hope, and palpable apprehension for the two rangers. Out on the plains, Kalen's behavior shifted his protective instincts, sharpening to a razor's edge, became Lyra's shadow, his amber eyes constantly scanning their surroundings, his presence a formidable barrier against any perceived threat. He'd position himself downwind, scenting the air, or stand sentinel, while Lyra rested, her own movements becoming more deliberate, her choice of resting spots increasingly secluded. Her maternal instinct was a powerful ancient force guiding her actions. "She's looking for a den site, or will be soon," Elara observed quietly to Marcus one evening, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of a shared tablet displaying drone imagery. "We need to be ready, but not intrusive." The stress of her journey, a difficult birth, is a real possibility. Marcus, ever the pragmatist, nodded his gaze, distant. Checked the emergency kit in the Land Rover tranquilizer, darts, broad-spectrum antibiotics, resuscitation gear. Just in case, hope to God we don't need any of it. Ranger preparedness was one thing. Interfering with a wild lioness, especially with a fiercely protective male nearby, was a scenario fraught with unimaginable wildlife drama. The weight of this secret hope was immense. For Kaelin and Lyra, this cub represented the continuation of their line after so much loss. For Marula Valley, it was a precious potential addition to its delicate ecosystem. Yet the sanctuary of the reserve offered no guarantees against the raw, unpredictable nature of birth in the wild. Each passing day tightened the suspense, the air growing thick with a fragile anticipation as they all waited for the inevitable. A moment that could tip the scales towards joyous new life or devastating loss. The fragile anticipation shattered. One sweltering afternoon, Lyra's low moans began to echo from a cool, secluded thicket. Sounds that quickly escalated into strained, agonizing cries that clawed at the air. This was no ordinary labor. This was a lion birth crisis. Kaelin, frantic, paced the perimeter of her hidden spot. His distress, a palpable force, his roars tearing through the Marula Valley Reserve. No longer territorial, but laced with raw fear and a desperate, raging protectiveness. From their discreet observation point, Marcus and Elara watched, their hearts sinking. Hours crawled by. Lyra's strength was visibly waning. "She's not progressing, Marcus. She's in serious trouble." Elara finally choked out her voice, tight with a dread that mirrored his own. The protocol was clear: non-intervention. But the raw savannah drama unfolding before them, the imminent life or death struggle, screamed for an exception. "We can't just watch her die," Marcus said. His jaw set the words, a grim decision. The risk was almost unthinkable. A dramatic intervention, with a lioness in excruciating pain guarded by a lion, driven half-mad by fear and instinct. Their approach was agonizingly slow. The Land Rover inching forward, then stopping Marcus and Elara. Finally stepping out. Medical kit in hand. Kaelin erupted, a blur of tawny fury. He charged not once but twice, pulling up short of the vehicle in thunderous displays of power, his mane bristling a terrifying guardian. Each roar was a promise of violence. It was a pure test of ranger courage. Elara now or never. If she gets any weaker. Marcus's voice was strained, his eyes locked on Kaelin, who stood, heaving a low growl vibrating in his chest. Lyra's whimpers were fainter now. Then the heart-stopping moment. Kaelin looked from the humans to Lyra, a flicker of something unreadable in his wild eyes. Confusion, exhaustion, a desperate plea he couldn't voice. He didn't charge again. He held his ground, trembling, seizing the infinitesimal pause in this intense human-animal interaction. Elara moved. Low, slow, speaking in a soft monotone. She approached Lyra Kaelin, a silent, vibrating statue of menace just yards away. With adrenaline-fueled precision, her hands surprisingly steady, Elara administered the life-saving injection. The needle slid in the plunger, depressed, and then they waited, the silence of the savannah pressing in thick with the unspoken question of survival. The breath held captive in Marcus's chest escaped in a ragged sigh. Elara, too, seemed to deflate, the rigid lines of tension around her eyes, softening. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The only sounds Lyra's exhausted panting and Kaelin's restless, low rumbles. Then a tiny, almost imperceptible movement near Lyra, followed by the faintest of squeaks. A wildlife miracle. Against all odds, a small, wet creature struggled into the world, a perfect miniature lion cub. The sheer relief that washed over the two rangers was a physical force, a silent, shared victory that tasted sweeter than any they had known. This was their ranger's reward, a profound conservation success. Slowly, cautiously, Kaelin approached his massive head, lowered, sniffing the air around Lyra and their newborn. He nudged the tiny form with his nose, a surprisingly gentle gesture from the fearsome guardian. Of moments before, Lyra, though clearly drained, managed a weak lick for her cub, and then for Kaelin's muzzle. Tender moments in the heart of the wild. Elara seizing a carefully judged opportunity, while Kaelin's attention was on his new family, moved with quiet efficiency. A quick visual check confirmed the cub Neo seemed healthy, and she managed to administer a quick, supportive tonic to Lyra via a low-impact dart from a safe distance, then retreated, giving them their space. As they pulled back, Kaelin lifted his head and looked directly at their vehicle. A long, steady gaze that held no menace, only something akin to acknowledgement. A silent "thank you." Later, huddled over warm drinks, the adrenaline still singing faintly in their veins, they spoke the names that felt right. Kaelin. He was a true warrior today, Marcus said. Let's call him Jax. God has been gracious. Elara smiled, and Lyra she fought with such purpose near. For the cub, the symbol of this incredible new beginning. They agreed on Neo, a gift. In the days that followed, a fragile trust began to weave itself between the humans and the lion family. Jax's territorial roars softened when their vehicle was near. Naya would sometimes lift her head, her gaze more curious than alarmed. The human-animal bond, once an impossible dream, felt like it was slowly, tentatively taking root in the Marula Valley soil, lifting the spirits of everyone in the reserve. That fragile trust, planted in a moment of crisis, blossomed in the sun-drenched expanse of Marula Valley reserve weeks, turned into months. Little Neo, under the devoted gaze of Naya and the ever-watchful Jax, grew from a spotted, wobbly cub into a boisterous miniature predator. His playful tumbles a constant source of quiet joy for Marcus and Elara during their discreet observations. The lion family thrived, a testament to resilience. Their story, whispered between rangers and etched into the heart of the reserve, became more than just a successful intervention. It was a living wildlife legacy. It spoke of the profound human-animal connection possible when courage overrides fear and compassion guides action. This unforgettable moment served as a powerful conservation inspiration, a reminder that even in the wildest hearts a bridge of understanding can be built, fostering a hope for the future where coexistence isn't just a dream, but a vibrant, breathing reality. The sight of the trio, magnificent against the African dawn, was the ultimate affirmation.